Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. Vamos a conducir una pequeña...
Good morning. We're going to have an interview in Spanish with Mr. President. Mr. President, it's a great honor to give you the most cordial welcome to this summit. We thank you, your disposition to share our perspectives about commerce under your leadership in Ecuador, talking about the private sector and the regional sector, not only the U.S., but the region, or your ambitious efforts to insert Ecuador more into the world is one of the most positive economic developments in the hemisphere. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I greet all of you. Our policy is quite clear. More Ecuador in the world and more world in Ecuador. What is it that we're seeking? More trade of Ecuador in the world and more investment from the world in Ecuador. Not only commercial and investment, but in other many activities of the Ecuadorian society. But what has to do with commerce, I want to share with you that from the first day of government, we initiated conversations with different countries around the world. First of all, with Mexico. We are very close to finalizing negotiations between Ecuador and Mexico. This free trade agreement with Mexico is fundamental. It is a requirement to Ecuador entering as to the Pacific Alliance with full rights. To us, that is very important in order to recover wasted time due to ideological reasons, where countries like Colombia, Peru, Chile, Mexico, and Ecuador had the opportunity to do it, did not do it at the time. We're trying to recover that wasted time. With the United States, our main social partner, economic partner, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and the U.S. had their trade agreement. We did not enter that. We're trying to talk to the U.S. about the need not to leave out a small country, which, painfully so, the government during that time caused that damage to us. But we are in conversations, we're advancing in something that we cannot call it a free trade agreement, but they are commerce protocols that allow us to take a few steps forward. Then in February, I spoke to Xi Jinping, President of China, about that treaty of free we are negotiating it, and we want to have it completed at the end of this year. Also with South Korea and with Israel. The objective of Ecuador in my government is to try to reach close to the 80% of global product, to reach the largest economies. Ecuador is a very small country. What Ecuador is complementary. For example, flowers to the U.S., shrimp, except the area of the Gulf, Mexico. We are the first producer in the world of shrimp. I feel optimistic that Ecuador will reach its objective, its goal, in the next 3 years to reach at least between 10, 12 free trade agreements with the largest economies in the world that will open markets to Ecuador. And then with local investment, I hope that with the next question, we'll be able to talk about it. Is that yours or mine? That's a way to do trade.
Bueno, hablemos un poco más profundo.
Let's talk a little bit more about the economic bilateral trade relationship with the United States. The U.S. continues to be the first economic partner of the U.S. The private sector has realized and is following quite closely this closer relationship between the United States government and your government. And that has to do not only with commerce, but issues that have to do with security. Tell us a little bit about that. Well, in the first place, good relations with Ecuador as a country with the American people is historical. There is sometimes when they were closer, and other times ideological, political ideology interferes. But now there is a closer relationship between the government of the United States and the government of Ecuador. But we talked about commerce, but also bilateral. Security is the top priority because Ecuador is threatened now by organized crime, by drug trafficking, given that in the past 15 years, to be soft about it, there were permissive governments with this illegal activity of drug trafficking through the Ecuadorian territory. We have confiscated 300 tons of drugs, which is equivalent to the added number in the past 5 years. That's why my government is determined not to negotiate with drug traffickers, not to look the other way, not to be permissive, but face them straightforward. This has created problems because obviously we have hit them in their pocket, which is what it hurts most, almost $6,000 million in 1 year. The reaction has been street delinquency, more violence in the streets, still lower the level of deaths in Ecuador compared to Colombia or Mexico. But then again, what's happening in Ecuador then is not a scandal considering the other countries in the region. But we have to be clear with our good friends, the United States. I bring a very message that is very clear when I have the opportunity to speak with him. We need the support of the United States and also of the European Union. Why? Because this is a shared problem. They use the territory of Ecuador to traffic drugs, send them to the United States, and send them to Europe. This time, there's a government that is ready and willing to fight face-to-face with drug trafficking. But we need the support and the help of the United States. We're a country of middle income, so it is fair to share the expenses, knowing that the benefit of this fight will be reflected in the American U.S. society. So we are working on that at this time in Ecuador. And well, we have received the support of Colombia, also Peru's being available to help us on this subject is a way to share intelligence information. But there was a time when there was a Plan Colombia before the U.S. Right now, my intention is to bring to the United States a Ecuador plan. We need to have the good friends of the United States and Europe to face this, to tackle this problem. It's very understandable, the bilateral relations. Let's talk about another subject that has to do with security. Judicial security. You have prioritized that in your administration. Please tell us about the connection of judicial security and the increase of investment, the investment that you're seeking in Ecuador. Well, judicial security is fundamental for an investment process, to have clear rules and to know that judges are acting following those rules. Ecuador is a country, a democratic country. Above all, under my government, there is independence of powers, justice. The judicial system is independent from the executive branch. But when you have the need to strengthen justice, like in the European Union that wants to support the creation of new judges to be able to judge organized crime. Evidently, my government lets the use of everything they have so that that can be accomplished, the judicial branch of power, but painfully so. I'd like to see more effective and fastest results. The problem is that the effort that I have to make is to take the nails of the claws from the politicians. If we have professional judges without intervention of politics, then we will be able to strengthen justice. And I find myself in that objective. And it's not that easy, because one has to face political powers which have been used to be the ones who call the shots. They are not the ones who call the shots now. But for those politicians, my government means an obstacle. So we need to remain firm. And sometimes it seems like, let's say, traction, opposition are very strong, but the reasons are that we are removing the claws to politicians, making sure that they remove their hands from justice. But we're going to generate everything that's necessary so that the justice system can be independent and to generate stability, not just for all Ecuadorians, but for potential investors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Más profundamente
Now,
sobre
talking a little bit more in depth
los
about
sectores principales que usted está
main sectors
priorizando
that
para
you're
atraer inversión.
prioritizing to bring investment to Ecuador.
Ecuador tiene
Ecuador right now has
presencia muy fuerte en el sector hidrocarburo. Sé que usted
hydrocarbons, their objectives, infrastructure, mining. Tell us a little bit about the opportunities for investors. Ecuador has petroleum. It produces 15,000 barrels daily. The objective of my government is to initiate in a short term something that could help us duplicate the oil production. That requires $12 million in investment. Those who are here present can place each project
en el campo de los hidrocarburos en la página web ecuadoropenforbusiness.com. Ahí está cada proyecto, lo que demanda en inversión y lo que potencialmente puede producir en barriles de petróleo. Segundo, energía. El Ecuador produce 5.200 megavatios al año y consume 4.200, pero tenemos una capacidad de inversión en el sector de energía para llegar a una producción de 30.000 megavatios al año. Y eso en energía limpia, energía renovable, con fuentes de agua, con eólica, energía eólica, con energía fotovoltaica, con energía geotérmica. Y también en la página de Ecuador, openforbusiness.com, pueden encontrar los inversionistas cuáles son los proyectos. Por ejemplo, el más grande es el proyecto Santiago, que es un proyecto con capacidad de generar más o menos 2.000 megavatios al año y que demanda una inversión aproximada a los 4.000 millones de dólares aproximadamente. Y luego podemos pasar al tema de minerales. El Ecuador produce ya hoy cobre, plata y oro. Pero el potencial de Ecuador, para que tengan una idea, es comparable a una franja entre teniendo como piso lo que exporta Perú, que son 20.000 millones de dólares al año, y más o menos un techo como lo que exporta Chile, 40.000 millones de dólares. Esto en el largo plazo, probablemente lo que me corresponde a mí es promover estas inversiones y será en 4 o 5 años más adelante que veamos los resultados.
when we will see the
Ecuador
results.
exporta
Ecuador
900 millones de
900
minerales en el año 2020, que fue el primer año de exportación de minerales formalmente, oficialmente contabilizado. Y en el año 21 subimos a 2.100 millones de dólares. Y estamos en este año muy pronto a firmar concesiones para explotación de 3 grandes minas en el Ecuador. Y aparte de esos proyectos hay una de las minas más grandes de cobre en el mundo que tenemos hoy en el Ecuador. Eso lo pueden ver también en esta página web. Luego, en materia de infraestructura, hemos ubicado cerca de 5.200 millones de dólares en proyectos de carreteras, puertos, aeropuertos, distribuidores de tráfico que abaratan el costo de las exportaciones por razones logísticas y estamos claros en impulsar todos estos proyectos en alianzas público-privadas.
Bueno, usted ha sido muy generoso con su tiempo. Según nuestro... por favor, la última palabra.
Eso en los sectores estratégicos en la relación con el gobierno. Pero el Ecuador pues, ofrece muchas oportunidades de inversión en turismo, en agricultura, en ganadería. Para quienes no conocen Ecuador, les quiero decir que es un país pequeño, mega biodiverso, que es un país extraordinario, con 4 regiones muy claras. Las Islas Galápagos, que son las más populares en el mundo, pero tenemos también la Amazonía. Extraordinaria para turismo, extraordinaria para ganadería, extraordinaria para agricultura y muy poco explotada en todos estos campos. La costa con unas playas magníficas también, donde yo imagino todos los hoteles que se pueden construir a lo largo de toda la costa ecuatoriana hacia el Pacífico. Y la sierra con unos nevados extraordinarios, con una capital que tiene el centro histórico más grande
best kept of all Latin America. The church tour that, what can I tell you, is marvelous from the colonial times. So I invite all of you to come to Ecuador.
Y esta será la última palabra. Muchas
gracias
por la presentación. Un gran placer.
Thank you so much for your presentation, President Lasso.